Well, congratulations on completing Module 1. And Module 2, we're going to start getting into the weeds on your dog and getting ready for your junior hunt test. We're not quite there yet. We got to do some more evaluating before we start doing some field work. And in this lesson, I'm going to ask you the question, is your dog mentally ready for a junior? You're probably thinking, yeah, he's ready. Well, hang on. Let's analyze this before we move forward. All right, so before you can build marking drills, steadiness systems, or a mock test simulation, you need to answer more very important questions. And I recommend you have a diary or a training log that you train your dog, you're writing stuff down so you mentally remember what happened and what you need to work on. Yeah, that's a little extra bonus there for you, okay? So is your dog mentally ready for a junior level training and test? Because obedience does not equal readiness. Age does not equal readiness. And enthusiasm alone does not equal readiness. In this lesson, we're going to evaluate your dog's drive, your dog's confidence, environmental stability, that's a big topic, and gun sensitivity, that's a big topic, and emotional regulation. And by the end of this lesson, you'll know whether to move forward or continue to build that foundation. So why mental readiness matters. You probably have never even thought about that, but it does. Junior evaluates natural retrieving ability under moderate control. If the mental foundation isn't stable, pressure is going to expose it. And at the junior, they get introduced to gunfire, excitement. There's live and dead birds, there's new environmental factors, there's holder blinds to deal with, there's a lot of people and spectators watching, and of course there's lots of other dogs around. If your dog cannot regulate emotionally in new environments, test day becomes overwhelming, and we need to do everything we can to prevent that now. So let's take a look at the drive assessment. Drive in your dog is the engine. Without it, it becomes forced. So again, some important questions you need to ask yourself about drive. When you throw a bumper or even a bird in the field, does your dog explode forward with intent, or does it hesitate or require encouragement to retrieve? A junior ready dog shows eagerness to retrieve, fast departures, commitment to the task, and strong return energy. That's what it should look like. Now, there are red flags here that you need to really watch for potential issues, like slow, reluctant retrieves, dropping birds halfway back. That's a red flag. Distractions by the environment, birds chirping or vehicles running up and down the road, etc., and quitting early during a hunt. Those are some of the big red flags at the junior level. Drive must be natural. Junior does not require extreme intensity, but it does require genuine desire. So let's evaluate confidence. Confidence is a big issue for your dog through his entire journey. Confidence is different from drive. Drive pushes the dog forward, but confidence sustains effort when things get a little bit difficult. Test confidence by introducing light cover, slight terrain changes, mild obstacles, and this is a big one, water entries. And when you do that, you need to observe, does the dog problem solve or hesitate and look back repeatedly at you? A confident dog may pause, but it continues. It tries to work out the problem. A lacking confidence dog will turn around and seek help immediately from you or from a gun station or just quit altogether. Junior requires independent effort. If your dog constantly checks back or on simple marks, we need to build more confidence into that dog. And environmental stability, this is a big one. This is where many amateur handlers can get surprised because you're always training in the same areas. Same spot. You need to train in different fields, in different grounds, around mild distractions, with mild noise. And when you do that, You need to watch for hyperfixation on environmental issues, nervous scanning, shutting down, or the dog is just simply over-aroused. They can't handle all that weird stuff that's going on around it. A junior-ready dog can enter new fields and still focus on the retrieve. If novelty overwhelms performance, you need to delay testing and entering a test. And again, gunfire conditioning. This is an easy thing to do. Gunfire sensitivity is a non-negotiable. Proper gun conditioning sequence is simply this. Have a propane boom gun is what you're going to find probably at 99% of hunt tests, but some of them will use what they call a field trial blank, but they're incredibly expensive anymore. But you have to have distance, gunfire out in the distance while retrieving. Then you gradually reduce that distance. You get a little bit closer to the gunfire and the mark being thrown. And then you pair that with strong drive. And never introduce gunfire without lots of excitement. And one simple way of doing this is when they're eating. You're obviously not going to shoot a boom gun while they're eating, but I've used cap guns, for example. If you can feed them out in the field, you can buy those primer pistols that they use in track and field, and those are easy to find. So when all that's going on, when you're introducing this gunfire, does the dog accelerate towards the mark, or does it ignore the gun when that gun goes off, when they get that boom? Or does it hesitate after the shot and doesn't even want to go out there? Any hesitation must be resolved before junior entry. Gun shyness does not fix itself under pressure. Trust me. It's an easy thing to fix, but you need to get a handle on that before you enter your first hunt test. And that leads us into emotional regulation. This is a critical part of solo dog trainers like you and me. Evaluating excitement control. When a bird is visible and is thrown, can your dog remain seated? Does it tremble but hold? Or does it just simply break? Does it just go? A mentally ready junior dog can be excited without losing structure. If your dog oscillates between chaos and shutdown, you need steadiness conditioning before entering a hunt test. So let's give you a checklist for us solo trainers. This is a step-by-step checklist, and you're going to evaluate this from 1 to 5. Just keep it simple. And that's why I encourage you to have a little diary or a little notebook that you're training your dog, or the best thing you could do is videotape your training sessions on your cell phone. So when you do that, then you can come back and look at that video and evaluate these topics. From 1 to 5, you need to evaluate the dog's drive. From 1 to 5, you need to evaluate the dog's confidence, and then environmental stability, gun neutrality, and emotional control. If any category scores 1 to 2, you're definitely not ready. Doesn't matter what category it is, you're not ready. If it's in a 3 area, it's inconsistent, it's a gray area, you still need work. But what you're looking for is scores of 4 to 5. Your junior has a pretty solid foundation, and you should feel good about possibly entering. You do not need perfection. You just need reliability, and not in one training session. This has to be several weeks to a month. If you have 2 or more categories below a 3, you need to pause progression and come back and build a stronger foundation first. I like putting in my little journal red flags. If I see any red flags, I'm going to note that in the journal. So let's just be direct, and you need to be brutally honest with yourself when evaluating your dog. Do not enter a junior if these red flags show up. You're hoping for a good day. Your dog breaks occasionally. Gunfire still concerns you. You rely on heavy verbal encouragement to get that dog to retrieve. And delivery to hand is inconsistent. And you are unsure of steadiness. Those are all red flags. Juniors should feel predictable in training. It should not feel hopeful. This is a journey. that you're on, okay? You're on a long road here, and you need to be patient with it. So a timeline of reality. Some dogs are ready at 10 months. I do not recommend that. Some dogs may be ready at 18 months. I really don't recommend that either. Some dogs need more time, and that's okay. Progression is performance-based. It's not age-based. Rushing to test early often creates bad habits that can be hard to break. Anxiety, handling dependency, and confidence loss, among a many long list of other things. We're trying to build some long-term success here. We're not trying to get focused on ribbon blindness. We're not chasing ribbons permanently. We're not trying to get 4 ribbons and give yourself a little pat on the back. I recommend that you fully get through basics training. And we're going to talk about basics, intermediate, and advanced training in upcoming lessons. But you have to have a solid foundation of basics first. And there is a lot of little step-by-steps in here. And in fact, you look at the pyramid, basics has the largest chunk of your dog's training because that's the foundation you're building off of. My recommendation is that your dog probably should be at least 1 year old or older because you do not want to enter early and create bad habits. Those bad habits are amplified when you try and move up to senior, and they're almost impossible to deal with when you try and run master. You got to get that foundation in first so bad habits don't crop up. And that's why I always encourage folks to be ready for the senior. Train your dog for junior, yes. Train your dog to run senior. And once the dog is about ready to run a senior, that's when you move down and you run a junior. You don't run senior. You don't enter senior. You're just training to that higher level. Train at a higher level and then come down and run at the lower level. Things are going to be a lot more smooth, trust me. So in the next lesson, we're going to conduct a practical field-based readiness evaluation for you. That's a great topic. I'll walk you through exactly how to test marking, steadiness, delivery, and composure in a structured format. The evaluation becomes your, let's say, green light, okay, before entering a junior hunt test. Complete this mental assessment, like I told you above, from 1 to 5 on the categories I listed. Be honest with yourself, and then you can either decide to move back or move forward in your dog's training. Foundation determines outcome. Welcome back to Module 2, Lesson 2, Evaluating Your Dog's Marking Ability. Hello, everyone. Thanks for sticking with the program. One of the most important skills a retriever must demonstrate at the junior level is the ability to mark a fallen bird. That's what the junior is all about. It's just marking, simple marking. But in simple terms, your dog must see the bird fall, remember where it landed, and go retrieve it confidently. But many handlers overestimate their dog's marking ability during training. A dog that appears to mark well in familiar training grounds may struggle with the environmental change or when the excitement increases with all the people around. So before entering a junior hunt test, it's important to honestly evaluate how well your dog actually marks. And that's what we'll focus on in this lesson. So what judges expect at a junior? At a junior level, judges are primarily evaluating whether the dog can mark a single retrieve and recover the bird without significant help. The dog should clearly watch the bird in the air, remember where it landed, and drive towards the fall of the area. Now, the dog does not need to run a perfectly straight chalk line, but junior dogs are allowed to hunt in the area of the fall. But the key point is this. The dog should appear confident and purposeful in locating the bird. Judges want to see a dog that understands the job that's being presented to this junior level dog. So signs of a strong marking ability. There are several signs that your dog is developing strong marking skills. First, the dog clearly watches the bird or bumper, whatever you're doing in training, in the air and land all the way down on the ground. Second, the dog leaves the line with confidence when sent. And third, the dog drives towards the fall area with minimal hesitation. Even if the dog needs to hunt briefly, the search should stay close to where the bird landed. That allows the dog to remember the mark, right? So common marking weaknesses to look for. Now let's talk about some common problems that appear when marking ability is still developing in its infancy stage. One of the most common issues is a dog that leaves the line without a clear destination. So the mark is thrown here and they immediately leave your side and veer off one way or the other. That's not good. You'll often see the dog begin hunting too early, well before reaching the area of the fall. And that can happen with terrain changes, for example. Another issue is a dog that loses focus and begins wandering around, like, ooh, something smells good over here, something smells good over there. Yeah, it's cute to watch, but you're trying to pass this test. So this usually means the dog did not clearly see or remember the mark or have the drive to go get it. And sometimes the dog will just repeatedly overshoot the fall area and hunt way too wide. All of these signs tell us the dog needs more marking experience before entering a test. So how to evaluate honestly? The key to evaluating marking ability is creating simple but honest training setups. Start with straightforward single marks on both land and water. Watch your dog carefully. Videotape you and the dog. That's a good analysis to take back and look at later. Did the dog clearly watch the bird fall? Did the dog run toward the correct area? And did the dog locate the bird without excessive confusion? If the answer is consistently yes, your dog is likely developing the marking ability needed for junior. But if the dog struggles to locate marks, that's valuable information, because it simply means more repetition and experience is needed before you and that dog enter your next hunt test. Marking is the foundation of retriever work. A dog that confidently marks birds will perform far more consistently at the junior level. Now, in the next lesson, I'm going to take you into the judge's sheet. We're actually going to take a look at a judge's sheet, and we are going to evaluate 3 dogs and how judges score based off the contents of what's in their book. It's marking style, perseverance, trainability. I'm going to go over that. I'm going to diagram some things out. They're going to be drawing your dog's performance out on this piece of paper. This piece of paper represents your dog. And we're going to walk through that so you have some idea of what judges are actually judging and how they write it down in their judge's sheet in case you want to come back after the event and take a look at what your dog did. Okay, I want to share some of the stuff that a judge would look at when they're doing a junior hunt test. Let's say this is a land series right here, and you've got your last holding blind right here. So the dog and you will come into the last holding blind. When you're called to the line, you will come out of the holding blind and you will advance to the line. First is a flyer. Say the flyer shoots back towards 45 back, so I'll take that arrow out. So dog number 1. So you signal the judge signals for this first mark to go off. and then the judge will give you your number, and then you are allowed to release your dog. Let's say the dog came in, and the judges are going to do exactly what you're seeing here. They're going to draw it out and say the dog came just a little bit far past it and then hooked it back in and got it. And then they're going to turn around and shoot bird number 2. Once the dog comes back, and you collect the bird and the dog and you line up for mark number 2, you signal to the judge again. They shoot and throw mark number 2, and the dog does something like this. So how would you score that run for a junior dog? So this is dog number 1. So on the flyer, you're going to be marked on marking, style, perseverance, and trainability. So you got to score from 0 to 10 on those elements. So I would give this mark for the flyer probably a 9 to a 10 on marking. And for style, so style is speed, attitude, water entry, pickup, etc. So the dog went out there and eagerly left the line, went out there, marched off, and got it. So he might get a 9 to 10 on style. And then perseverance is courage and hunting. That looks like a pretty good job to me. So again, a 9 to a 10 on trainability. We're just looking at this mark only. And then trainability. So this comes into play like steadiness, control, delivery to hand, response, etc. So let's say that was all nice and clean. So again, a 9 to 10 on this. That was perseverance. This is trainability. So this first score, mark, has a pretty high score overall. So that looks pretty good. So how about as we take a look at mark number 2? So mark number 2 looks pretty good. Let me move the mic here. So the dog headed towards the gun station, and then we called it boomed out. Still looks pretty good in my book. So this, again, would probably be an 8 to a 9 on marking. And for style, it would probably go 9 to 10. I mean, it looked like it did pretty good there. And how about perseverance? It persevered nice. So I would go, again, 9 to 10. And then trainability, say it came all the way back and did a nice job. So again, 9 to 10 for trainability. So that's dog number 1. Overall, that looks incredibly good for the first series for a junior. Now, let's take a look at dog number 2. Okay, dog number 2 comes up. They shoot the flyer. Flyer lands out here. You signal the judge. Judge signals a flyer. Flyer is shot, lands there. You get a number. The dog goes and immediately veers off behind the gun. And then it comes around here, does a loop or 2 in front of this, then comes back around here, does a loop or 2, then it comes over here, does a loop or 2, and boom, gets it. Okay, so it's a goofy little hunt, but we'll come back to that. So then dog comes back promptly, does a nice job with delivery, and comes straight back. Bird number 2 goes off. You signal the judge signals the gun shoots and throws. You send the dog, and the dog, again, goes behind the gun, hunts out here, comes back around, and then eventually gets it. All right. So how do you score that? So that did not look nearly as good as dog number 1, but is that a failure in the junior? Depending on what happens at the line, from the time you came out of this holding blind up to the line, the delivery and all the mechanics here were good and clean. So your trainability and style points here on the line were good. This is probably marginal, but it's probably going to get you back to the water series. The dog persevered and did not give up the hunt. The dog did go behind the gun. So there may be some other environmental factors in here that pulled the dog to the right, but the dog got it. So for marking, oh, you're probably, I'm guessing here. So let's say this may be a 6 to a 7 on marking. Everything else being said is probably going to be, again, somewhere in that 6 to 7 range for style, trainability, and perseverance. And then for this mark, again, we call this going behind the gun. They threw the mark that way, but the dog ended up going behind the gun and then hunting back here a little bit. But it wasn't a sustained and long hunt. It picked it up relatively quick. So this still might be in the 7 range for marking, and probably 7 for style, 7 for trainability, and 7 for perseverance. So, I mean, you're hurting here, but you did okay, not great, but you did okay here. Now in the junior, it doesn't have to look pretty for all of it, but that'll probably get you back to the next series as long as everything on the line looked halfway decent. All right, and then you're going to get your typical junior dog that comes up. Let me draw this. Again, this is a gun. That's a holding blind where the little bracket is. And he throws over here. You've got your flyer out here, throwing over there. All right, so here comes the next dog. And it is very apparent to the judges that this dog is dragging its handler to the line. So from the get-go, from the time they were called up, there is some questionable happenings right here before any mark is thrown. All right, so the handler signals the judge signals the flyer goes off, they get a number. And during that whole fiasco, the dog stands up on 2 feet. You're holding on to the dog with the collar. So you literally got your fingers underneath the collar, and the dog tries to stand up. Well, that's a little out of control, and it may be barking and whining a little bit, but you get your number and you go. And the dog immediately just goes way out into the backside of the gun, comes back around here, comes back up here, sees this, and then may come back towards you, and then comes back here. Oh, hey, there's some guys in there, and jumps in the holding blind because there's live crate flyers in here. And then they kick him out. And they told him, no, go out. And then he comes out here, hunts around a little bit, and then he comes back around here, and then he may come back here, and then he may come back over there. And I mean, wow. I mean, come on. That is one hell of a sloppy job right there. All right. But typically in the junior, judges will let you get the next mark, even if they think you failed this one, but we'll come back to this. So this mark goes off. Again, you signal the judge signals the gun goes off, you get a number. And again, the dog comes out here, comes around, I mean, just is all over God's country out here, and comes back around. Now, this is what it looks like on a judge's sheet. Are you going to get called back to the water series? No. Goodness, no. This big monster hunt here is probably less than a 5. So it's going to be a 1 to a 3 on marking. This one is a little bit better. It might be a 3, maybe a 4 on marking. But that's not going to carry to the next series. And I'm sure because this was incredibly sloppy, that this was incredibly sloppy on the line too. So there you go. That is 3 comparisons. This is exactly how judges will judge your dog. They're going to diagram it out on this judge's sheet right here. And on this sheet, they're going to judge marking, style, perseverance, trainability. So for mark number 1, they're going to give you a overall score on this flyer of probably 1 to 3. And then style is probably going to be 1 to 3. Perseverance is probably going to be 2. And trainability is probably going to be 2. So that is not going to carry you to the next series. Then since you got mark number 2 over here, those are low scores there as well. So right here it says each mark ability must average 5 or higher. So it's probably not going to average 5 or higher on the marking ability side on those 2 marks. It's just not going to carry. So judges are going to draw it out in this section, your land series, and then your water series is down here. A lot of this over here, it doesn't apply to junior because it deals with blind retrieves. So you're just dealing with the marking section, but it's marking style, perseverance, trainability. This is how judges judge. They will have 1 sheet per dog, and each dog, again, is diagrammed out and then scored accordingly for each mark. Then when the first series is over, they will come back and take a look at sheet by sheet by sheet, and then they'll come up with a callback sheet of the number. So your dog's going to have a number, say this dog was number 10, so they'll have written 10 down in here, or somewhere in here they'll have the dog's number so they know who you are. This is how judges judge a junior hunt test.
Many handlers believe the retrieve ends when the dog picks up the bird. But in the junior hunt test, the retrieve is not completed until the bird is delivered cleanly to hand. Judges carefully watch how a dog finishes the retrieve, and problems during this phase are one of the most common reasons dogs fail at the junior level. In this session, we'll evaluate whether your dog has the control and discipline needed to complete the retrieve properly. So what judges expect? At the junior level, judges expect a dog to retrieve the bird promptly and return directly back to the handler. The dog should pick up the bird cleanly, hold it properly, come straight back without unnecessary delay. Once the dog reaches the handler, it must deliver the bird to hand. This means placing the bird calmly into the handler's hand rather than dropping it on the ground or attempting to play with it. The retrieve should look smooth, controlled, and purposeful from start to finish. Judges are not looking for perfection here, but they are looking for a dog that understands how to complete the task responsibly. So signs of a reliable retrieve. A dog that is ready for the junior level should show consistent, dependable retrieve behavior. The pickup is clean and confident. The dog does not fumble or play with the bird. The return is direct, without wide loops or unnecessary detours. The dog maintains a calm hold while returning, and most importantly, the dog delivers the bird directly to your hand without dropping it early. These behaviors show that the dog understands the full retrieve process and remains under control throughout the entire task. Now, warning signs to watch for. Several common warning signs suggest the dog may not yet be ready for a test. One of those is frequent problems of dropping the bird before reaching the handler. Some dogs also develop a habit of running victory laps instead of coming directly back to you. Keep away in avoiding the handler, that's another problem. Hard mouth is another big problem. We've talked about that before. So excessive shaking, mouthing, or tossing the bird in the air are all warning signs of improper bird handling. These behaviors indicate that more control and discipline is needed before entering a junior hunt test. To evaluate your dog honestly, observe retrieve behavior closely during training sessions. Ask yourself, does my dog pick up the bird cleanly and confidently? Does my dog return directly without distraction? Does my dog hold the bird calmly? Does my dog deliver to hand consistently? Or do problems appear when excitement increases? Remember, dogs often perform better in familiar training environments. If delivery problems appear during these practice sessions, they will likely be a lot worse when the excitement is elevated at a real test. So identify these issues early, and you need to correct them before test day comes. A successful junior retrieve is not just about finding the bird. It's about completing the entire process with control and discipline. Clean pickup, direct return, proper delivery to hand are all essential parts of passing your junior hunt test. In the next lesson, We're going to bring everything together using a comprehensive readiness checklist designed specifically for solo trainers. This final evaluation will help you determine whether your dog is truly prepared to enter a junior hunt test. All right, I'm going to walk you through a quick little drill that you'll commonly see at a junior hunt test, and this drill is going to help with that. When the dog comes back and you collect the bird and you either accidentally drop it or you didn't grab it quick enough and the dog spit the bird out and it hit the ground, you got two choices. One, you have to command the dog pick that up. They have to deliver to hand. If they accidentally spit that bird out and it lands on the ground, do not pick that bird up off the ground. Don't do it. You'll fail that quick. Don't do it. So the second option is to build in a automatic response, and we're going to make this a game. Okay, this game is drop, fetch, drop, fetch, drop, fetch, drop, fetch. And you're going to do this hundreds of times. It's a simple little drill you can do in the yard, either with a back pile, or I just simply have 3 bumpers and I'm just throwing them out there randomly, as I'm going to show you here in this video. So I want to show you 2 different dogs. And this first dog is River.
Fetch.
And I'm
Fetch.
giving him the verbal command, fetch,
Fetch.
fetch, over and over again.
Fetch.
This dog is 3.
Fetch. Fetch. Fetch.
This is boring repetition.
Fetch. Fetch.
And that's what I'm looking for right there. I don't have to command it.
Fetch.
Unless I have to. If I have to command it, I will give the fetch command.
Fetch.
This is part of force fetch.
Fetch.
But it's a drill I'll come back to frequently because
All right, good boy.
now I'm going to psych him up.
All right, good. Up, 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 hey, hey, up, up.
So it was boring. Repetition.
Attaboy.
It was boring. Now we're going to
Sit.
spruce him up a little bit.
Fetch. Okay, heel. Heel. Sit.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking
Heel.
for.
Fetch.
I'm
Heel.
looking for an automatic response. Boom. I didn't have to say anything. Just
Fetch.
drop on the ground and go.
Boy.
He picked it up.
Sit. Go get.
So it got a little boring. Now we're going to spruce it up a little bit.
Heel. Heel. Sit.
This is delivery mechanics. That's what I'm looking for.
Fetch.
That's what I'm
Go
looking
get it.
for. If I have to command it, great. If I just have to say
Just
fetch,
making this a
pick it up,
game.
boom.
Yep.
Yeah, just making
Sit.
it a game.
Fetch. Fetch.
Just making it fun. Now, this is boring to watch, but this is important training. And it's something simple you can do in your backyard. No e-collar, no pressure. We're just making this a game. So we're going to go from the backyard
Heel.
to the field.
Sit.
So on our next
Sit.
training session, we'll do this again. And then I'll go to a new field and do it again. All right, so here's Doppler. This little guy's got a tremendous amount of bird prey. He's younger. He's
Here?
just a little over 2.
Here.
And I don't have to say anything to him. He's very eager to pick that
Fetch.
up, which is great.
Sit.
So I'm just building in muscle memory. Drop it, pick it up, 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 drop it, pick it up. Over and over and over again. And if they get a little bored with it, then we're going to throw it and make it a little more fun, like I did with my other dog, River. But
But this dog does not need any encouragement. He just has a ton of drive. Now what you see I'm doing there is I'm holding that bumper out in front of him. And I'm just testing. I don't want him to snap at it until I tell him to fetch. So the last thing you want is to collect the bird, and then as you take it from the dog's mouth, they snap at it. You get a correction on that. And he did not do that. But that's why I was holding it out in front of him. Yep, so there you go. Just repetition over and over and over and over again.
Here.
Do this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Because when a dog comes back from the field and you collect it and it slips out of your hand and falls onto the ground, don't just assume, oh, that was my fault. Judge may not have seen that. You want to actually tell the dog, fetch it up and deliver it to your hand. Now, delivery to hand can be either in the front finish position, like you'll see here in this video clip, or you can have them come to heel around your side and then collect it that way.
Back.
So these little things on the line, that little 5-foot circle, can cause you to fail a junior hunt test. Practice this over and over and over again. It'll help you when you go to your next test.
All right, before a dog ever makes a retrieve at the junior hunt test, judges are already evaluating something very important. What comes out of that hold'em blind into the line, you and your dog. Many dogs with excellent marking ability still fail at the junior level because they cannot control the excitement before the retrieve even begins. In this lesson, we're going to evaluate one of the most important readiness indicators for a junior dog: line manners and steadiness.
Let me stop real quick and break into my own video here. I want to let you know that there is a tremendous amount of content on line manners on my YouTube channel. You can go to Black Blizzard Retrievers and Mike Hurd. There you'll find free videos about line manners, an off switch, dogs that are dysregulated versus regulated, how we destroyed the off switch, how we created all this anxiety in dogs. I've got 4 or 5 videos there that do very well, and I've had a lot of folks viewing and commenting, and I suggest you stop by again my YouTube channel and you can wade in on this topic at your leisure. But again, line manners is a huge topic, not just for junior dogs, but for all dogs at all levels of hunt tests and field trials. And it's one of those things that if you let it get out of control, it can take you years, 1 to 2 years of patience to get the dog back into a regulated state. So take line manners seriously. All right, now let's get back into the video.
At the junior level, judges are looking for a dog that is under reasonable control at the line. Your dog should sit calmly beside you while the birds are thrown. The dog should watch the mark in the air, remain steady, and wait to be sent. Now, judges are not expecting the same level of steadiness and control that you might see at higher stakes like the senior or master, but they must demonstrate basic control. A dog that breaks before being sent, lunges forward, or cannot remain seated will quickly draw attention from the judges. Steadiness shows the dog is mentally prepared for the work. So when a dog has proper line manners, you're going to notice several things. First, the dog sits quietly beside the handler. The dog appears attentive and it's focusing in the field. It's looking out there, trying to find the gun station and the birds. And when the birds are thrown, the dog watches the mark carefully, but even with excitement building, the dog remains seated and waits to be released. This shows the dog understands the process. Control and patience at the line are strong indicators that a dog is mentally ready for the test environment. Now, let's talk about behaviors that suggest the dog may not be ready yet. One of the most common issues is creeping. This happens when a dog slowly inches forward when the bird is thrown. Another common problem is lunging forward when the marks are thrown. Dog's whining because dog's excited. He can't control himself. And of course, the most serious is breaking, but that should never happen at the junior because you can restrain the dog. Any of those behaviors suggest that that steadiness still needs work in the dog, and entering a junior test is probably not recommended. So the best way to evaluate your dog's line manners is to observe carefully during training. Ask yourself a few simple questions. Does my dog sit calmly before the mark is thrown? Or does my dog watch the bird carefully? Does my dog remain steady until I send the dog? Or does excitement begin to take over? Remember, your training grounds are often familiar and comfortable places for the dog. If you're struggling with calm and control issues there, well, guess what? It's going to be 100 times amplified by the time you get to a hunt test. So hunt test evaluation at this stage helps avoid entering the test too early. Steadiness and line manners are a critical part of the junior success. A dog that remains calm and under control at the line is far more likely to mark accurately and complete the retrieve successfully. So in the next lesson, we'll evaluate another key area of readiness, and that's delivery to hand and overall control during the retrieve. Because retrieving the bird is not the only part of the job. Finishing the retrieve and correct placement in your hands is critical. This is one of the most essential pieces of equipment that you're going to need to purchase, a holding blind. I recommend at least one, maybe two if you can afford it, because you have to get the dog used to sitting in the holding blind. And the judges are going to critique you from the point where you leave this holding blind and you walk out to the line. That line might be 10 yards away, it might be 20 yards away. It might be even farther. So it's important to train for longer walk out on lead and make sure they walk at heel. Make sure they're not dragging you. If they are, it's a correction, you come back here. And then you try it again. That's a correction, come back here. I mean, you may have to do it hundreds of times, but you cannot let them drag you up to the line. Tip number 2, have your dog sitting just like this. Even if you have to bring them in and stand like I'm facing the camera with everything going on behind you. Do not make them turn around and put their face up against the wall. It's just gonna make them antsy. It's gonna make them wanna listen to what's going on. It's gonna make them nervous. If you can get them to turn around with their back against the holding blind, facing towards the gallery, with the test going on behind them, you can sit here and talk to them and calm them down. Number 3, sit. This is how you exit a holding blind. Non-verbal communication. I just put my hand down and waved it, and he came out and sat right here. Kennel. Sit. Practice this over and over. Sit. Why am I doing this? Sit. I'm bringing him away from the test. This is my last chance to get a correction or get a little bit of control. Now you gotta be careful here, because the second you step out here, the judges call you to the line, they're looking at this. It's just your way to bring the dog away from the test, make them sit, give them a little tug, take a deep breath. Calm yourself, and then calmly walk to the line. Kennel. Kennel means get in a kennel on the truck. Kennel means get in a holding blind. And kennel means if there's a placemat out, which 99% of the time there won't be, but sometimes you will have a placemat, and that's good training too. I tell them to kennel there. Those 3 mean get in, sit down, be quiet. Practice this in the yard over and over and over again. Make them sit out here for half an hour to an hour, all by themselves, even if you have to stake them down. Get them comfortable being in this environment. It's critical, especially for junior dogs. This is where they lose their you know what. Starts with an S, ends in a T. They lose control right here. Get them comfortable with this scenario right here, and you'll be a lot better off running your next junior hunt test. One of the biggest mistakes amateur handlers make is entering a junior hunt test before their dog is truly ready. Sometimes it's optimism, sometimes it's pressure to see progress, and sometimes it's just simply not knowing what ready really looks like, because you don't know what you don't know. And that's what this course is all about, helping you make better decisions. In this lesson, we'll bring everything together using practical readiness checklist design specifically for solo trainers like yourself. This checklist will help you evaluate your dogs objectively and decide whether it's time to enter a test or is it time to continue training. So why honest evaluation really matters. Training sessions can be misleading, especially if you tend to train alone or with the same small group of people, because probably you're setting up the same tests with your dog because the dog is doing well on that. Your dog may perform well on familiar grounds in comfortable conditions and with predictable setups, but hunt tests introduce new environments, unfamiliar fields, different throwers, and increased excitement. So a small weakness that seems manageable in training right now often becomes a major problem on test day. Honest evaluation should help avoid some of those failures. It protects your dog's confidence, and it ensures that when you do enter a test, you do so with realistic expectations. This insight was not available 38 years ago when I started running junior hunt tests, so I'm extremely jealous and I'm extremely excited that you have this opportunity to truly evaluate your dog and become a better dog trainer and hopefully succeed in the junior areas. So let's briefly review the areas of evaluation that we covered in this model. First was mental readiness. A junior dog must remain calm, focused, and steady despite excitement and distractions. We covered that early in this module. Second, we looked at marking ability. Your dog must watch the bird fall, remember its location, retrieve confidently without excessive confusion. And then third is a big topic. We talked about line manners and steadiness. Your dog should sit calmly at heel, remain steady while marks are thrown, and wait patiently for the release command. Fourth is delivery to hand. It's a big topic for junior folks like yourself. The retrieve must be completed properly. Clean pickups, direct return, calm hold, and delivery to hand. Each of these areas represent a critical part of the overall junior performance, and weaknesses in any one of these areas increases the risk of failure. So I've designed this checklist for you. I have added a complete readiness checklist PDF to this lesson. You can download it, you can print it, you can use it as often as your heart's desire. The Solo Trainer Readiness Checklist is designed to give you a structured evaluation tool. As you work through training sessions, score your dog honestly in every category. Or if you're too busy training, again, like I said, videotape yourself and then go back and look at yourself and your dog in training and use that checklist and score it appropriately. But you're looking for consistency, not occasional success. A dog that performs correctly once, is learning, but a dog that performs correctly repeatedly is ready. If you notice low scores in specific areas, that's valuable information. It's okay. It just means you need to focus on those weaknesses in your training efforts. So this checklist removes guesswork and it replaces it with some measurable progress. If you struggle to accurately assess your dog's training, again, that's okay. There is a whole community of like-minded trainers like yourself on this platform.
You can ask questions and get answers. And hey, I'm willing to do a Zoom call with you and we can have a one-on-one conversation, because I am all about trying to help you succeed in the junior level hunt tests. So let's talk about when not to enter a test. There are times when patience is the best decision. If your dog struggles with steadiness, marking confidence, delivery control, entering a test too early, I guarantee you is going to create setbacks along with extremely bad habits that can be difficult to correct. Repeated failures often damage a young dog's confidence and creates frustration for you, the handler. Delaying entry is not a step backwards. It's an investment in long-term success. A few additional weeks of focused training can make a big difference between frustration and a qualifying pass. So, confidence to move forward. When your dog demonstrates consistent performance across all readiness areas, you're going to feel it. It's going to feel right. The retrieves look smooth. Control improves. You and your dog's confidence is building. That's when entering a junior hunt test becomes an exciting next step rather than a stressful gamble. Preparation creates confidence, and confidence leads to better performance. And that's what I'm trying to help you with. Before you go blow $500 to $700 on a given weekend, you want to make sure you're going to pass, right? So evaluating readiness is one of the most important responsibilities of a handler. The goal is not to simply enter a test. The goal is to enter when your dog is truly prepared to succeed. And using the Solo Trainer Readiness Checklist is your guide to train honestly and evaluate consistently. And move forward when the time is right. In the next module, we'll begin building the specific skills needed to strengthen weaknesses and prepare your dog for successful junior level performance.